river transportation. In today's clip, I'm going to go through with you all the information that you need to know about how a river transports its load. So this is from the paper 2 exam on the UK's Evolving Physical Landscape section, all about river landscapes. So first thing you need to know about transportation. There are 4 types of transportation. On your worksheet, you have these 4 different types of transportation. You can see the image, the diagram in front of you now. What I want you to do, I want you to annotate each of these 4 types with the name, if you can remember what the type of transportation is called, and then an explanation and description as to what is happening in that type of transportation for me, please. So if you pause the video clip now, get your annotations done from memory. Okay, perfect. Welcome back. You should have lots of annotations, lots of knowledge refreshed on that sheet. I'm now going to get you to pause the clip one more time, and this time I want you to watch the video clip attached to your instructions on the classroom. This video clip is really good because not only does it outline the 4 main types of transportation, but it also explains where these types of transportation tend to occur along a river's long profile and why these different types of transportation occur at different points in the river. So make sure you add some of that explanation and that extra detail to your worksheet for me, please. So if you pause the clip now and have a little watch of that video. Okay, welcome back. You should have your diagram labelled as my one is in front of you now, with the 4 main types of transportation. I have also summarised what each of these types of transportation are and how they are occurring. So we'll start off by talking through suspension. So suspension is where small rocks are carried above or within the water. So this can be seen here. This tends to be fairly small sized bits of sediment, as a lot of energy is needed to completely suspend a rock in the river. This tends to happen where the water is faster flowing so that it has the energy to pick this piece of sediment up. Okay, next one, traction. Traction is the largest rocks and they are rolled along the riverbed, so that can be seen here. This requires a large amount of energy to remove these particles. Because they're so big, the river's flow must be really strong. Therefore, they are rolled along and moved along the bottom of your river. Next one is solution. So this is your small particles that are dissolved in the water and they are transported in this way. So this tends to be your rocks that are more dissolvable, such as your chalks, such as your limestone, as they can easily dissolve in the river water and be carried downstream. Finally, it's saltation. So these are more medium-sized rocks. They bounce along the riverbed. So the river doesn't have quite enough energy to completely pick these sediment up in full suspension. Therefore, it is bounced along. Okay, so if you take a couple of minutes for me, make sure you've got those definitions, make sure you've got any extra annotations that you need to add in green ink to your worksheet for me, please. Perfect, so you should have green penned that for me now. We're now going to have a little bit of a look at an exam question on transportation. So this is one of the past questions that are in the sample papers available to you. So the question says, explain one way in which rivers transport their load. Okay, so first of all, we're going to break this down a little bit. We're going to annotate this question. So you can see I've done that for you now. As all the questions that we've looked at so far in these clips is an explain question. So it's asking you why or how something is happening. It's asking you 1 as your amount for this question. Because it's a 2-mark question, you need to make sure that you are giving a point, but also explaining it for that further mark. And then finally, there are 2 key words in this question. The first one, nice and easy, transport. So transport is just the movement of your sediment downstream. However, the second key word in this question might throw you off a little bit. So it says load. All that load means is the sediment in the river, or the rock that is in the river. Okay, so remember that word. So they're not trying to confuse you, but make sure you know what that word load means. Okay, so I'm now going to give you 2 minutes. I want you to have a look at this question and I want you to answer it on your worksheet for me, please. So if you pause the video clip, give yourself 2 minutes and answer this for me. Perfect. Okay, so you should have answered that question. We're now going to go through some feedback and some fix-it. So all of the fix-its for this question has been lifted directly from the mark scheme. As I said, this is a previous question that came up on one of the past papers. So I'm going to show you the exact wording from the exam board and what is required of you to be able to reach full marks here. So the first mark is for identifying the type of transportation. So solution, suspension, traction or saltation. So you get 1 mark for just outlining what the transportation method is. The second mark is for your explanation how that is actually occurring. So solution, when rock materials enter the water having been chemically dissolved. Suspension, when rock particles are small enough and light enough to be carried by moving water. Traction, when rock material is rolled along the riverbed in times of high discharge. So remember, your discharge is when there is a large amount of water in the channel that is flowing through. So you calculate your discharge by timesing your velocity by your cross-sectional area, so the area of the river channel. So the more water that's flowing through your river, the more chance that traction is going to be taking place. Okay, finally, we're going to look at saltation. So saltation, when material is partially in suspension and partially bed load, thus moving in a series of jumps. So it's not completely suspended and it is not completely rolling across the bottom of the river. So it's that in between those 2 different types of transportation. So give yourself a mark, add anything in that you are missing for me, please.
Thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the clip and found it useful for all your geography revision needs, please hit the like button below. If you want access to more content like this, more revision playlists, more exam technique and feedback, please subscribe to the channel. Regular content will be added and updated to help support you on your GCSE journey.